2 days before I decided to leave for good, I called Victoria Vance. Deep in the throes of her new romance, she was practically spitting with impatience. "Can you just stop? I'll be back at the office when I'm done." Before I could get a word in, she hung up. A month later, back from her honeymoon, Victoria saw my empty apartment and cleared out desk and became a cornered wildcat. She shrieked into the phone. "Leo, right. If you don't come back right now, then don't you ever come back." "Ms. Vance, our contract has expired," I said calmly. "However, I do recall Article 3. The employee shall not defy any of the employer's requests, nor shall he develop any inappropriate feelings for the employer." I paused. "I'm willing to honor Article 3 one last time." Here in my flat, even tone, Victoria was suddenly rattled. "Be good, Leo. I'll be back as soon as I'm done with this." After lunch, Victoria wrapped her arms around me from behind. Her long hair brushed against my neck, making me itch as her signature light perfume filled the air. "Don't worry about a thing, Victoria. I'll be here when you get back." I turned, my face fixed in a gentle expression, my eyes conveying the look of practiced adoration I had perfected over the years. In my line of work, you do the job you're paid for. Professionalism is everything. And during the term of the contract, the client is your one and only God. I knew exactly why she was leaving. She was off to meet Ethan Cole, the man her family had arranged for her to marry, to build a connection. If things went according to plan, within 3 months Victoria would be married to Ethan, ready to start a family as expected. She had asked me about it, her eyes full of a strange, challenging hope. "Leo, you won't mind if Ethan and I... if I get my first time, you're okay with that, right?" "Of course not. Whatever you want to do, Victoria, I support you completely." My voice was a soft murmur. My heart was a placid lake. "And Leo, you'll treat my child with Ethan like your own, won't you?" I reached out and stroked her hair, then rested my chin on the top of her head, a gesture of intimacy explicitly outlined in the contract for appropriate and timely execution. Of course, the first rule of my profession is to never, ever fall for a client. To violate that rule is to step off a cliff into a bottomless abyss. People like them belong with people like them. It's an old story. "You're the best, Leo." Victoria stood on her toes and pressed her soft lips to my cheek. It had been almost 3 years since I first met her at that karaoke bar. For 3 years, we had remained perfectly rational, our intimacy confined to moments like this, never crossing the line. "Your hotel in Boston is booked. I've had it swept and the supplies you might need have been arranged. I know you don't handle pain well, so there's a first aid kit on the desk in your room with some painkillers. You can take 2 afterward." I glanced at her suitcase. "Do you need me to see you out?" Victoria was obsessed with details. For her, the measure of a person's care was in the small things. A question before a trip, the seamless arrangement of her work or leisure. She hated wasting time, energy, or emotion on anything she deemed meaningless. "No, Ethan's picking me up." She shook her head. A few moments later, a sleek sedan glided into the driveway of the gated community. A handsome, confident young man sat behind the wheel, a perfect match for the exquisite Victoria Vance. "Tori, who's this?" Ethan's voice was smooth, but his eyes, fixed on me as he got out of the car, were sharp and analytical. Before Victoria could answer, I smiled, took the suitcase from her hand, and walked over to Ethan. "It's great to meet you, sir. I'm Tori's distant cousin, Leo. She's told me so much about you. It's an honor to finally put a face to the name. Out in the world, you have to improvise. You invent a role that fits the situation. A brother, a cousin, whatever works." "Her cousin, huh?" Ethan's scrutiny softened slightly, and his smile was the kind that could charm anyone, but a flicker of disdain remained in his eyes. I lacked the effortless polish of the born and bred wealthy, an aura that can only be cultivated over a lifetime in the right environment. "Tori, you should have said something. We would have had Leo join us." Victoria opened her mouth to speak, but I cut in smoothly. "I'm just an intern at Tori's company, here thanks to her pulling a few strings. Wouldn't want to impose." Understanding dawned on Ethan's face. He said no more, walking over to Victoria and taking her small hand in his. He leaned in and brushed a soft kiss across her lips. Her body went rigid. Her eyes darted toward me. This wasn't their first kiss, but it was the first time it had happened in front of me. She seemed to let out a breath she'd been holding when she saw my expression remain unchanged. I watched them drive away, then turned my attention to planning my next steps. My 3-year platonic contract with Victoria was almost up. That night, shortly after she arrived in Boston, she posted on her Instagram story a picture of 2 champagne glasses clinking, another of her and Ethan doing a celebratory shot, arms linked. In the main photo, she was nestled against him, her face flushed, a wide smile on her lips. The caption read, "Doing what I love, living the life I want." I quietly liked the post and commented, "Take care of yourself." The next moment, a photo popped up in my iMessage. It was from her. In the reflection of the hotel room mirror, Ethan was shirtless. Victoria, in a sports bra, clung to him like a koala, her cheek pressed against his chest. "Sleep well, Leo. Make sure you're safe, Victoria." I typed back, adding a hug emoji. She sent a good night sticker. Adhering to my professional code, I deleted the private photos and the chat history. In this business, retaining a client's private data is a cardinal sin. It makes them feel threatened. The next morning, a new message from Victoria arrived. "Leo, it hurts. There are painkillers on the desk and some antiseptic wash. Use them, okay?" I replied, using a voice memo. My tone was meant to be comforting. When a client is this candid about their vulnerability, my job is to offer reassurance and a sense of being cared for. "You're so good to me, Leo." Her voice memo came back, thick with exhaustion. It was followed by a video. The thumbnail was a shot of clothes strewn across the hotel room floor. I didn't open it. I just sent back another hug emoji. "You've been through a lot, Victoria." After sorting through the gifts Victoria had given me over the years and packing my own belongings, I submitted my resignation the day after the contract officially ended. 2 days before I boarded a train bound for anywhere else, I called her. "Hello." The call connected, but before I could speak, she hung up. Faintly, I thought I heard the sound of panting. I hesitated, then glanced at my online banking app. The mid-7-figure balance gave me a little push. I called her again. Even though the contract was over and I could have just vanished, business is business, and a little courtesy doesn't hurt, especially when a client paid so well. "Can you just stop? I'll be back at the office when I'm done." Her voice on the other end was a frantic, angry mess. "Understood, Ms. Vance." She hung up on me again. A month flew by. Victoria returned from her honeymoon in Boston. And, right on schedule, as I was enjoying a personal vacation on the Florida coast, my phone rang. On the other end, Victoria's usual composure was gone, replaced by the same raw fury I'd heard that first night in the karaoke bar. She sounded like a cornered wildcat, all hissing and claws. "Leo, right. If you don't come back right now, then don't you ever come back." Considering my former employer's emotional instability and the fact that she had never been late on a payment and had even thrown in a hefty bonus, I decided to offer her a small, complimentary service. "Ms. Vance, our contract is expired," I said calmly. "However, I do recall Article 3. The employee shall not defy any of the employer's requests." I paused. "As a free bonus, I'm willing to honor that Article 1 last time." Hearing my flat, even tone, Victoria was suddenly rattled. Her voice came back hoarse. "Leo, you promised you'd never let me lose you." I apologized, Ms. Vance. "Our contract is over." I kept my voice gentle, trying to make it sound as warm as possible. "All promises were valid only for the duration of the contract." "You're a liar," she whispered after a long silence. "Can we renew? I'll pay more." My heart skipped a beat. For a split second, I almost blurted out, "How much more?" But in the end, my professionalism held firm. I cleared my throat to cover my momentary lapse. "I'm afraid that's not possible, Ms. Vance. You're going to have a wonderful husband. I sincerely wish you all the best. May you live happily ever after. Have beautiful." "Leo, right? Shut your mouth." Victoria roared. Of course. Even though she couldn't see me, a smile played on my lips. After all these years, I could no longer tell the difference between a genuine smile and one manufactured for a client. "Stop pretending, Leo. What are you anyway? You're just a guy who sells himself for money." Her anger was like a volcanic eruption, threatening to smother everything in a thick cloud of ash. Fortunately, I was watching this eruption on TV from a safe distance. The overwhelming rage couldn't touch me. You're right, Ms. Vance. That is a fact. I didn't argue. First, because she was right. Second, because in this line of work, you learn that when a client is having a meltdown, talking back is the worst thing you can do. Even if the contract is over, you don't burn bridges with insults. A good reputation takes years to build and can be destroyed in a single impulsive moment, much like the happiness most people dream of. I'm sorry, Leo, she said, her tone softening, laced with guilt and punctuated by broken sobs. I think I'm in love with you. She sounded like an abandoned kitten that had just stumbled upon the person who once spoiled it the most. Love or habit? I leaned toward the latter. What she was describing as love was nothing more than a withdrawal symptom, the jarring reaction to a deeply ingrained habit being broken. It's okay, Ms. Vance. We all have moments when we're not ourselves. This will pass. My voice was soothing. Time is a powerful thing. It gives, and it takes away. You're just used to having me around. That isn't love. In time, you'll get used to me being gone. And you, she pressed, unwilling to let it go. Did you get used to having me around? Ms. Vance. I paused, looking up at the brilliant blue sky. Up there, the stars only come out at night. During the day, they are hidden by clouds and sunlight. At night, a single moon hangs in the sky, surrounded by a legion of adoring stars. What are you trying to say? After a moment of silence, I answered, Ms. Vance, the moon and the stars share the same sky. They look so close, but in reality, they are worlds apart. Speak English, she yelled. We're not from the same world. She burst into my apartment so forcefully that I stumbled backward, and she shoved me onto the bed. How did you find me? I stammered. This woman was insane. Where did she get my location? Your travel registration. Then it hit me. A proprietary app she had a developer build years ago to track my movements, installed deep in my phone's OS. I mentally slapped myself. I'd thought of everything, but I'd forgotten the most obvious. I should have thrown the phone away and gotten a new one. You realize your mistake now. Victoria sneered, unclasping the strap from her designer shoulder bag. It's too late for regrets. I said nothing. After years together, some habits are hard to break. You're not going to take your clothes off? She snarled. A sharp crack echoed in the air. As the leather strap hit my back, I grit my teeth, telling myself it didn't hurt. It did. One thought surfaced through the pain. I forced the words out. 10,000. Hearing this, Victoria's teeth clenched in fury, and the strap flew faster. 10,000? I'll give you 10,000. When I woke up, my skin was on fire. Beside me, Victoria lay asleep, a single tear clinging to her eyelashes. I pulled the blanket over her, then quietly tried to slip out of bed and get dressed. Damn it, I'd really messed up this time. My professional virginity was gone, and I couldn't even charge for it. That would be illegal. Where do you think you're going? The voice from behind me made the stinging on my back feel 10 times worse. To get some medicine. I threw out the first excuse I could think of, my back still to her. Don't bother. Huh? I glanced toward the trash can and saw the discarded packaging. I understood. Ms. Vance, we crossed a line. This isn't right. Dressed now, I backed away toward the door, ready in case the madwoman decided to swing at me again. You're mine, Victoria said, getting out of bed and advancing on me. But you're not mine, I replied, my voice turning calm and cold. Talking back now? Another crack of the strap. I sucked in a sharp breath through my teeth. Just as Victoria raised her arm again, her phone rang. It was Ethan. Babe, where are you? I miss you, his voice cooed from the speaker. Victoria's entire demeanor shifted. She became the picture of warmth and affection. Hey, honey, I'm just out with some girlfriends. I'll be back in a day or two. Listening to their conversation, I couldn't help but laugh coldly to myself. After hanging up, Victoria's expression turned icy again. Her voice was pure command. The next time you try something like this, it'll be more than a few lashes. Get your things. You're taking me shopping. I didn't answer. I just quietly started gathering my things. Victoria saw my compliance, snorted, and disappeared into the bathroom. Aspen in December is beautiful, a world draped in white, vast and silent under a silver sky. I was unpacking in our rented cabin when I heard a cry from the bathroom. Honey, Chloe ran outside. Go get her quick. I dropped what I was holding and rushed out the door. My heart pounded until I saw her in the yard. A small figure chatting with a tall, stylishly dressed woman not far away. Relief washed over me as I hurried toward them. When Chloe saw me, she ran and wrapped her arms around my legs. "Daddy!" At her cry, the woman who had been bending down to talk to her looked up. The face was both familiar and strange, her cheeks flushed red from the biting wind. I've always believed that if it weren't for fate, you would never see some people again. For most people in your life, you've already seen them for the last time. Leo? Leo, right? It's been a long time. Victoria Vance. I was genuinely surprised. I never thought I'd run into her here. It really has. How had you been these last few years? I got D. Victoria stopped herself. I'm doing well. And you? Very well, I said, my voice as gentle as it used to be. For a second, she seemed lost in a memory. Daddy, do you know each other? Chloe asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Of course, sweetie. I'm a good friend of your daddy's, Victoria answered before I could. The moment she heard Chloe call me daddy, the color drained from her wind-chapped face, leaving it a stark white. I was just saying how much she looks like you. She's your daughter, isn't she? She's adorable. So beautiful. Her smile was strained, and a film of moisture gathered in her eyes, as if she were about to cry. A wave of sorrow and regret washed over her face, and her whole body seemed to twitch. I raised an eyebrow. Was this the same Victoria? Thank you. Chloe, what did I say about running off? Now, say hello to the nice lady. Just call me Victoria, she insisted, biting her lip with a flash of her old stubbornness. I smiled. That was the Victoria I knew. No matter how much she changed, the person she was at her core would always be there. Daddy, should I call her ma'am or Victoria? Chloe asked, looking confused. Call her Victoria, I said. So many years had passed. It was strange to see her again. Hi, Victoria. Hello, sweetie. Victoria forced another smile and reached out to pat Chloe's head, but my daughter dodged her hand. Daddy says if you let strangers touch your head, you won't grow tall, Chloe explained seriously. To her, Victoria was a stranger. Victoria's face grew even paler. We stood in the snow together once. Does that count as growing old together? Victoria asked out of nowhere, catching me completely off guard. Look, I said, gesturing to the other tourists marveling at the snowfall. They're all standing in the snow with you, too. A lifetime of togetherness can't be replaced by a dusting of snow. Under the sky, how many people share a snowfall? And how many of them actually find their way to each other and cherish what they have? How did you two meet? The question was so vague, I wasn't sure what she meant. You're the baby's mother. The words came out awkwardly. Victoria's question pulled my mind back several years. That day, the moment Victoria went into the bathroom, I had made a break for the door. But it was double-bolted and chained. The rattling sound brought her storming out, her eyes blazing like an angry leopard's. She was on me in an instant. Just as I braced for the sting of the leather strap, she did the last thing I expected. She threw her arms around me and held on tight. Leo, please don't go. Can you stay? Feeling her body against mine, hearing the raw plea in her voice, something inside me shifted. On pure instinct, I found myself stroking her hair. Did I love Victoria? Maybe. Or maybe it was just habit. But the spark I felt when I first saw her was real. I thought back to that night at the karaoke bar, where she was drinking herself into a stupor, moments away from being taken advantage of by some predator. I couldn't stand by. Hearing her faint cry for help, I kicked the guy so hard he flew a couple of yards. That act of chivalry got me promptly arrested. Luckily, Victoria wasn't helpless. She told the police I was her boyfriend, and after some mediation and a few $1,000s in settlement money, the matter was dropped. It also got me fired from my job. As compensation, Victoria offered me a new one, her personal assistant. For a time, I let myself fantasize that maybe one day Victoria and I would get married and have children. But that fantasy died the day I saw her moving through circles of men and women, charming them all with the effortless grace of a fish in water. I knew then that we were not on the same path. Then came Ethan, and I became nothing more than a clown in the background. Thinking about all this, the warmth that had begun to stir in my chest cooled to ice. I added a new rule to my professional code. Every thought is a seed. Every consequence is the harvest. Do not indulge in unrealistic fantasies. Eventually, the day came when Victoria walked down the aisle. I stood leaning against the church doors, watching with detached interest. In her wedding dress, she looked like a princess from fairy tale, almost too perfect for this world. I could see the slight swell of her belly. Soon, she would have a child of her own. Victoria had asked me to wait for her. I agreed. Waiting, after all, is its own answer. Some people wait to give up. Some people wait to leave. I chose the latter. I crushed the cigarette under my heel and vanished into the crowd. This time, I threw my phone into a sewer grate. Later, on my travels, I met a girl named Maya. She had long, dark hair, deep brown eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. We ate together, explored new cities together, traveled together, laughed and cried together. We even fought, but none of it ever made us want to give up on each other. The urge to wake up next to her every morning grew stronger until one day we stood before our families and friends, and she became my wife. We had a beautiful daughter, Chloe. She might not be the most beautiful girl in the world to everyone else, but she was my girl. I know that no one belongs to anyone else, but the fact that she chose to stay and walk this path with me makes her the most precious person in the world. Let's go, Maya. Honey, who was that? Maya asked, glancing at Victoria with a hint of caution. Victoria Vance. I didn't hide it. There was nothing to hide. So that's her. She's really beautiful. Maya nodded thoughtfully, which sent a warning bell ringing in my head. But her next words put me at ease. But I'm prettier, right, honey? Of course you are. I smiled a real smile this time, pulling her into my arms. So many people have come and gone in my life. When I look back, I could see the footprints walking alongside mine, and then, at some unmarked point, they veer off onto another path, never to be seen again. That makes the person who chooses to stay, to walk beside you forever, infinitely precious. The snow began to fall harder. I held Maya's and Chloe's hands, walking through the deepening drifts, each step deliberate and deep. The cold air turned our breath to white mist, dusting our eyebrows with frost. Daddy, your eyebrows are all white, and Mommy's too, Chloe said, tilting her red-cheeked face up at me with a giggle. They really are, honey. Maya, who had been admiring the scenery, turned to look at me. Are you cold? A little, she said, her nose red. I gently wiped her nose, tightened the scarf around her neck, and brushed the snow from her hair. Daddy, I think someone's calling you, Chloe said, cocking her head as if trying to hear something through the swirling snow. You're just hearing things, sweetie, I said, ruffling her hair. The wind howled, the snow falling thicker now. I held their hands a little tighter. Oh, don't, go. Chloe, what are you muttering about? Maya asked, confused. I looked down at my daughter, too. Stars, she said, looking up. What stars? Maya asked, bewildered. I looked up at the sky, too. There was nothing but endless snowflakes melting on my face, cold and wet. And yet, through the gray haze, it seemed as if a single ray of starlight was shining down on the three of us. Silly Mommy, Chloe chirped. Daddy's name is Leo. Like the stars. Maya and I looked at each other and laughed. I can't decide if someone will stay with me on this journey through life. All I can do is be the best version of myself and make the person who chooses to stay feel happy and loved. Sometimes it's better not to cling to unrealistic fantasies. If someone can leave you once, what's to stop them from leaving you a second time? I love you, I said to Maya, the words coming straight from my heart. Thank you for staying. I love you, Maya replied, her eyes crinkling into a smile. Why not I love you too? I asked, curious. Because my loving you isn't conditional on you loving me first. So I love you. Well then, I said, cupping her face in my hands. I love you. I leaned in and kissed her gently. Daddy, Mommy, gross. Chloe squealed, covering her face with her little hands, but peeking through her fingers, giggling all the while.